In this video we are going to talk specifically about the date and time representation inside of R. So let's begin by how we retrieve the date and time of the system we are working in. It's the sys.date, the command. This retrieves just the date, not the time. We have the sys.time. They are passed without parameters, which retrieves the time. And see, there is an important difference here. The D is capitalized and the T it's not capitalized. This is somewhat a lack of standardization of R, I think. I believe that the difference between these two variables, why one is capitalized and the other is not, it's because one comes from the class date and the other one comes from the class POSIXt, which is are going to talk a little bit more later. So they are two completely different objects. You can see that by the behavior. If you add one to a date, you get one more day. But if you add one to a time, you get an additional second. So you can create different times by adding here. For instance, if you add 60, you get an additional minute. If you add 60 times 60 times 24, you add a whole day. If you multiply that by 7, you add a whole week. So this course is meant to be basic, so I'm not going into detail of how the POSIXt work. There is many other tutorials more elaborate about how to work with POSIXt, or for instance you can just type the help for R about how these dates work inside of R. I'll just give some examples. So let's say we have a string. The string in the way that they come from our weather data retrieval function. So it's somewhat like that here. Let's say if we look at the structure of that, is a character, right? But we would like it to be a date and not a character, because we want to be able to make operations with it, right? To see from, let's say, from which month this date belongs, or what is the day of the week. So what we're going to do is use the command strptime, which is this command, strptime. And the first parameter is the variable that contains the characters representing the date. This works as a way to convert strings, characters, to a specific type of date. And here we pass the format in which this character is. These percentage symbols followed by a letter means what are in this position. So we specify that the first position is the year, separated by a minus symbol, then the month, separated by a minus symbol, and then the day, which is the format that we have here. So if I take a look, time, it's correctly the date that I expected. But now, it might look the same, but it's not. When you go to class, you see that now it's a type of POSIXt. So let's say we have the opposite. We have also the time, not only the date. And here we only specify the date. So there is an additional specification for the hour from the minute. See the difference? Like month is non-capitalized and minute is capitalized, and the second. So new time now is a complete time. And even though it's a time, both of them are POSIXt, because you can represent a date inside of a POSIXt. I'm not sure if this is the pronunciation of this, but you can't do the opposite. You can't represent a time in a date object. That's why I recommend to use the time object, the POSIXt. We can also use a different format. Let's say my date is actually separated by slashes instead of minus symbols. So the only thing that will be different is the format. And here also the order are different: month, day, and year. So we just change the format accordingly using the correct separating symbol. Okay, so let's have a quick practice. You remember the function that we created that retrieves the weather data from the CRONOS weather stations? Let's take a look at this, in what is returned from this function. We can see here that we have dates here in the second column, but if we look at the structure of this variable, we see that it's actually a factor, and we don't want it a factor, right? We want it a POSIXt time. So your exercise will be to convert this factor into a date and replacing this value here in this table, so this table is more correct to the point of view that we can use these dates to make predictions from instance, like how much it rained in a given month or something like that. So, and a little tip is, like, you can't just convert a factor straight to POSIXt. First you have to convert this factor as a character and then convert it to appropriate time. So in the next video we are going to take a look on how to do it. See you there.